Hello, I'm David Hoffman, longtime documentary filmmaker, and you're about to see a clip from a series I made, television series, on the dawn of rock and roll and how it affected my generation. The dawn of rock and roll was seen as something new, powerful, and if you were my parents' generation, bad, evil, communist, going to destroy youth. That hadn't always happened, and I don't think it's happening now. I'm going to ask you at the end, is there music today that's affecting a generation, your generation, whatever it is, that the younger generation loves and the older generation hates, thinks it's dangerous? Look at rock and roll. Let's look at it. Here's what it affected. I just wrote this down. Families. It affected the older people, the younger people, the parents, how we felt about them. It affected civil rights. It affected the right of freedom, the right of independence, the right of liberty. It affected the use of drugs. They were seemed as good in rock and roll by some. It affected travel. Where should we visit? Getting on an airplane. I'm getting on an airplane, going to see the world. Wow, was that an exciting time. It affected this. You knew when you walked in the street or rode in a car and somebody went like that, they were like you. They were part of your generation. It didn't mean peace and it didn't mean victory. It meant sort of we're together. They're not us. You know, Bob Dylan said, never trust anybody over 30. Rock and roll and all of its evolution of it, I mean, the black rock and roll, the Elvis Presley rock and roll, the country rock and roll. I can remember hearing Buffy St. Marie, the American Indian folk singer, rock and roller, sing a song that was 10 minutes long about the Indians in America and how badly they were being treated. And we all listened to it. I can remember Alice's Restaurant, a 26-minute song. Unbelievable story, heard it 50 times, knew every single word in it, as so many of you did who are from my generation. Well, was that unique in history, that moment? Or are there other moments since that younger generations feel that I'm just not seeing? So take a look at this clip. It was made for the series. It gives a sense of how people felt about the dawn of rock and roll at that time.
The arrival of rock and roll in my life was like something that came from another planet. We hadn't heard anything like that sound before. We hadn't heard people making that kind of noise, breaking all limits of politeness. And what was so strange is how so many people responded to someone very weird, like Little Richard, instantly, with no sense of distance, no sense of questioning. Just, of course, yes, I've been waiting all my life for this, and I never knew it.
My father had a sort of breakthrough once, as I recall, where he realized, they had their fads too. When he was a young man, maybe a little older than 13, but when, oh, everything's upside down. When the music goes round and round, ooh, and it comes out here. Well, I heard this, and he said, this was a wild song that we had when I was a kid, and I said, yeah, that's wild, you know.
Irony is the adults who thought of rock and roll as an act of rebellion, while the kids said it's not, it's just music, those adults were right.
Hey, they ain't mad, are they? No, that's the way kids are dancing nowadays. They call it rock and rolling or pop or something like that.
It was a rebellion against suburbia. It was a rebellion for me against all of the conventions that seem to make life so stifling. And rock and roll, along with the beatnik movement, along with Kerouac and Ginsberg and things like that, it really it helped to punch a hole in the 50s conformity.
However, we feel, based upon the experiences throughout the country, that this rock and roll rhythm has been the seed of trouble, and we want to keep trouble out of Jersey City, Don.
Rock and roll has got to go, and go it does. That's the best way I know to get rid of them.
Point 25 of the communist goal, corrupt American young people, how? Through movies and music. That two-beat pattern is the music brought to the United States of America by the communist conspiracy to corrupt teenagers, and it's in every rock and roll number.
Communism, I mean the idea that rock and roll has anything to do with communism. Rock and roll is sort of the ultimate flower of capitalism in a lot of ways. It's inconceivable that a music that's based so deeply in hustling, in let's get rich, in one-hit wonders, you know, could have anything to do with a planned economy. I mean, the concepts are, you know, monumentally different.